She rejects the call. She turns away and covers the phone with her hand, then taps twice and glances toward me. I wait for the next call and keep still. Brunch runs loud. Her phone sits face down, rose gold pop socket shining, buzzing every few minutes. My text from last night pings back at 11, late start, all good. I slide her the hot sauce. I say you ghosted? She says relax. Two friends trade a look and start a new story over my sentence. I let it pass. The server asks if we're together. She answers separate checks, thanks. A couple nods around the table. The laugh track follows her. Power leans her way. She picks up the phone, thumb hovering, then flips the switch and mutes alerts. She says it's quiet today. The phone buzzes again under her palm. I pour more coffee, keep my eyes on the rim. I tell her we'll talk after. She says later. I'm slammed, and turns to ask Maya about the playlist. I text across the table. After brunch works. She leaves it unread, face down again. Pop socket winking at me like a coin I didn't flip. Our friend on my left asks if everything's fine. I say we're good. He glances at her screen anyway. She laughs too loud at a joke that isn't funny, then checks the time without checking me. Digital distance lands clean. Plates arrive. I eat steady pace. No questions. When the checks drop, I pay mine first, stand, and tell her I'll meet her downstairs. She nods without looking up. I'm done giving the benefit of the doubt in a crowd. The next move happens off the sidewalk. The lobby was cool and loud with shoes and carts. I waited by the mailboxes, gym bag on my shoulder. The elevator opened. She stepped out with her phone in her palm, rose gold pop sockets spinning under her thumb. She saw me, kept walking. She said dinner won't work, I've got a work call. I said I'll swing by after. She said don't, I'll be late. I didn't fill the space. She was close enough to hear the doorman's pen scratch. I tapped our shared board on my phone. The calendar flashed, then blinked to empty. Shared access removed? I checked our thread, delivered, no read. Her receipts had been on for years. She watched my screen without letting her eyes land on it. The neighbor from 4B waved at both of us, asked about Friday. You still hosting? She answered before I could speak. We might skip. He looked at me like he wanted a tiebreaker. I said we'll confirm tonight. Her shoulders tightened, just the left one. Small tell, fast. She stepped to the window and took a call without putting it to her ear. She said I need to get set up upstairs. I said go ahead. She nodded like I had asked permission. When she moved past, I saw her open our chat long enough to type later, then back out before sending. She turned the phone face down on her palm, the pop socket catching a light. The doorman offered a cart for nothing. She said no thanks, kept going. Elevator doors closed on her reflection. I texted let me know when you're off. Delivered. No dots. Digital distance wasn't new, the speed was. A behavioral switch midday is not sync issues. The neighbor lingered, shrugged at me. I told him the same line, we'll confirm. He said let me know what to bring. The doorman looked between us like there was a form missing. I walked to the stairwell and took the steps down. No calls, no follow-ups. At the locker, I put my phone on airplane, did the same with my head. 30 minutes, then a check. Control is small choices repeated. When I came back up, Maya had pinged the group for rooftop later. She was on it instantly with a thumbs up, then removed her reaction. Our thread stayed quiet. The calendar still blank on my side. I sent one line to her. I'll catch you after your call. Delivered. No read. I tightened the strap on my bag and headed out. Quiet plans travel better. Maya's rooftop was already loud enough to cover soft mistakes. I cut past the bar. Two of her friends leaned in, thought I wasn't close. Keep Tuesday the same story, one said. I stopped. Not dramatic. Just stopped. She looked up from her phone, the rose gold pop socket flashing once in the sun before she pocketed it. She stepped in closer than usual and said you okay. What's Tuesday? I said. Book club, don't start, she said, half a smile, like a pat on the head. Heads around us turned. The bartender slowed the pour and watched the ice. You told me over time, I said. We moved it, she said. She waited for something I didn't give. I let the pause land between us. She shifted her weight. The smile stayed, but the eyes checked the crowd. Two of our friends drifted off her side to the snacks, glancing back at me, then at her. She reached for my sleeve and stopped short. I looked at her hand, then at the door. She pulled back and rejoined the cluster that always laughs too loud when it needs cover. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She took it out just enough to see the lock screen, then thumbed a focus half swipe and slid our thread off the surface like it never happened. Digital distance in a single gesture. She turned her shoulder to me. Book club, she said again, aimed over her shoulder to someone else now. I moved to the far rail. Wind, traffic, small talk at my back. I wasn't chasing. She hovered a beat, as if deciding, then let herself get claimed by a news story 3 feet away. Keep it neat, the same friend whispered, softer this time. Neat sounded practiced. I watched the rose gold pop socket move through hands, hers, then a friend's, then back. She laughed on cue. When she noticed me looking, she stilled it against her palm, like hiding a tell. My phone buzzed. Nate pinged, coffee tomorrow? I didn't look over at her. Name the spot, I sent. She glanced at my screen the way people do when they've trained themselves to. Later? She asked, tapping the rim of my glass. Morning's open, I said. No edge. Just true. She nodded like she had set the terms. Another buzz. Nate dropped a time and the cafe 2 blocks from our place. I didn't confirm out loud. I let my reply go through and put my phone away. Maya waved us toward a photo and she drifted into it, half turned toward me, then back to the lens. The smile returned on command. I stayed where I was and watched timing work. The next move wasn't mine. The cafe was loud enough to disguise careful voices. I took a table near the pickup counter. The barista called names in a loop and kept the line moving. Nate came in with her beside him like it was always the plan. He raised a hand. She put her phone down between us, face up for once, rose gold pop socket under her thumb, spinning slow. He said, thanks for meeting. I said, you picked the place? The barista set 3 cups on the rail. She stood, took 2 without asking, set mine down last like an afterthought. Separate lids. Separate receipts. Nate started quick. He said she's been helping the committee on Tuesdays. Lot of late rides, people appreciate it. I said, committee? She didn't blink. She said, small thing, civic stuff, don't make it weird. A couple at the next table heard the word Tuesday and cut their talk in half. Nate noticed the space shift and leaned back. He said they're trying to clean up the park, the usual. I've given her rides when it runs late. Overtime, then book club, now committee. The pop socket kept turning. Her eyes stayed on my face, not the phone. I let the quiet do its work. I didn't fill it. The barista wiped our table edge and dragged the rag twice along the seam. Nate cleared his throat. He said there's a mixer this week, donor thing, the committee will be there, easy way to see what it is. She stepped on that. She said it's small, no need, he's busy. I watched her thumb tap the screen. Our thread opened. The 3 dots showed, then disappeared. She dragged the thread left and hit silence. The tiny icon appeared. She locked the phone and set it again, face down now. The rose gold ring faced me like a coin. I sent a single line to test it. Running a little late? The phone didn't twitch on the table. A beat later, I saw the same line show on my screen. Delivered to me? Nowhere else. I said, how late are those rides? She shrugged like time had edges she could ignore. She said, depends on the week, nobody's clocking me. Nate glanced at her, then at me, and switched to softer ground. He asked about my shoulder, said he still had my drill, said he'd bring it by. Her jaw set, but she smiled for him. That was the contradiction. Friendly surface, careful grip under it. Power moved my way without a word from me. Nate stopped selling and waited. I kept it simple. I said I'll stop by the mixer. She tried to turn it back. She said, really, it's boring, you'll hate it. Nate cut in before she landed. He said it's at the hall on 9th, Thursday, 7, I'll put you down, easy. I nodded. No debate. He looked relieved he had a task. She looked past me at the line like she needed an exit. The pop socket stilled under her thumb. I stood first. He asked if everything was fine. I said I'm good, see you Thursday. She slid her phone into her bag and brushed my sleeve like the touch could reset the room. I didn't move to keep it. The bag thumped her hip. She told Nate she had a call, then told me text me later. I didn't answer. I let the pause stay where it landed. On the sidewalk, a dog pulled its owner toward the corner. Cars stacked at the light. Nate walked with her one way, I went the other. My phone buzzed once from her and then went quiet. She had silenced our chat. Digital distance widened on purpose. Tuesday. Late rides. Committee. I marked each point and the time between them. The next opening wouldn't be at a cafe. It would be under lights, with names and thanks and people watching. The mixer is already loud when we step in. Name tags, cheap lights, volunteers moving clipboards. Nate is across the room with 2 board members. He lifts his chin to me, then waves her over. Her phone is in her hand, rose gold pop socket caught between 2 fingers. She keeps it screened down against her dress, polite smile on. A cheer starts by the doors. Heads turn. Marco walks in like he belongs to the place. People grab his shoulder, he does quick hugs, the MC switches tone mid-sentence, and calls him a sight for sore eyes. She straightens faster than the music changes. She says random coincidence. I say you'll introduce us. She says later, he's busy. The pause sits between us long enough that one of the board members glances up. She adds not now, we just got here, and aims us toward the silent auction table like that was always the plan. I let her steer, but I don't move my feet. She notices, then does. Power leaks from her into the room without a word. It doesn't go to me. It goes to him. Nate reaches us, starts with you made it, then asks if we saw Marco's update. She says we're catching up, small thing. The MC corrects it on a mic. Thanks to Marco for reviving Tuesdays, we're back on track. People clap like it's their personal win. Her eyes cut to me, quick and flat. She told me committee, small thing. This isn't that. I pick up a bid sheet and read a bakery package like I care. She slides her phone closer to her hip, rose gold glint catching the bar light. I catch the top edge of a notification before she locks it. She pockets the phone cleanly. Digital distance spikes with one motion. Nate starts to say we should all, then stops when Marco breaks off from a cluster and heads toward the bar, not toward us. Someone calls his name twice. He doesn't look back. She says he's swamped tonight. I say I'm not. She says don't make a thing. I say I'm not. 2 friends from brunch walk up, all flushed energy. They greet her, then glance at me, then over my shoulder at Marco again. One asks, are you all on the same committee on Tuesdays or is it split? She says it's flexible. I say that's new. She laughs a clean, short laugh and points at a silent auction basket. Her hand doesn't touch my arm. Behavioral switch. She used to. Nate shifts weight, excuses himself to help with raffle tickets. He leaves us with the 2 friends. The MC starts a thank you list, says Marco's name twice, says Tuesdays 3 times. Guests echo Tuesdays like it's a brand. She keeps her face neutral, but the rose gold circle prints a small mark on the fabric by her pocket. I move to the bar. Not away. Just to the edge of the traffic. People flow past with plans and small talk. She stands where I left her, then walks over, controlled step, chin up. She says we should grab dinner after, group thing, keep it normal. I say sure. A volunteer asks if we want raffle tickets. She buys 5, holds them between 2 fingers, says lucky number 7, then gives one to me. I don't reach for it. She places it on the counter and waits. I let the pause land, then pick it up. The MC calls last call for bids. Marco laughs at something across the room, easy and loud. She looks at him, then at me, then back to the volunteer and says we'll head out soon, table's already holding a spot. I nod once. Dinner will be public. I prefer it that way. We take the corner table after the mixer. Menus open, water glasses set down, the server asking if we're doing food or just bites. She answers for the table, says share plates, keep it light, then turns to the group and says I've been spinning things. It's all in your head, I'm just busy. I don't look at her. I tell the server to add the steak skewers. Keep it simple. Maya watches the space between us. Nate folds his napkin twice, then sets it perfectly square. She keeps her voice even and says everyone's calendars are stacked, so let's stop making stories. A couple of nods show up right on time. Under the table, her knee taps mine once, then goes missing. Private beat. I let the tap pass. The server brings bread and asks if we want another bottle. She says yes, pours for everyone but me, then slides my glass closer anyway. The rose gold pop socket flashes as she lifts her phone, thumbs moving fast. She says I made a new chat so we're not spamming the main thread. Across the table, 2 phones buzz. Then Maya's. Then Nate's. Mine stays quiet. Digital distance, clean and loud. Maya says do we all have it? Nate says got it, head down. His jaw sets, then releases. He doesn't look at me. She tilts the screen, the rosy circle spinning under her thumb, and says planning only, just logistics. No drama. I say you just said there's nothing to plan. She keeps her face steady. It's cleaner this way. One friend says we've been dropping the ball on dates. This helps. Another says I thought Tuesdays were flexible. She answers before I do. They are, when we can. The friends watch her instead of me. Power tilts, small but real. I take a piece of bread, split it clean, and place half on her plate without looking up. She leaves it untouched. Her phone lands by my elbow as she reaches for the olives. She doesn't pull it back. I don't touch it. The server returns with plates, stacks them, and says the kitchen's closing in 15. She smiles at him like we're easy, then says we should wrap early and share a ride. I nod once. We will. She leans in, keeps her eyes on the group, and says let's agree to stop reading into pings and pauses. We're all grown. Her voice is calm. The nods come again. Nate stays slow and stuck to the table. Maya asks if I'm good. I say I'm already moving forward. She studies me for half a beat and looks away. Her friend fills the silence with something about Marco's fundraiser Tuesdays. She says that's not what this is, and laughs too soon. Contradiction sits on the table next to the olives. I slide my phone face down and check the time on my watch. No rush in me. I don't chase. The group picks at the last plate. She keeps the pop socket near my arm, the rose circle catching the light like a small target no one names. The server sweeps in, eyes the empty bottle, and asks if we're ready for the check. I tell him go ahead. I let the pause land where it lands and wait for the bill. The check lands. Cards hit the leather folder. I tell her I'll call the ride from her phone. She nods without looking, still talking about dates and budgets to the two who backed her earlier. The rose gold pop socket sits by my elbow like it's waiting. I turn it under my finger. The screen wakes. Her threads sit at the top, one pinned. Planning only? I tap. First line is a note. Keep Tuesday ladies' night. No crosstalk. Marco handles logistics. The same rose icon she used on the pop socket marks the pin. She told me book club, then committee. Now ladies' night with Marco running it. The contradiction doesn't need volume. I let it sit a beat. Nate asks if I'm good. I slide the phone to him. He reads. His mouth tightens. I take it back, tilt it to the two who nodded for her at dinner. Their eyes go to her, then down to their drinks. Her hand hovers, not close enough to take it without making a scene. I say I don't need stories. She says that's not what it looks like. I don't answer that. The server returns with the reader, slows when he sees the table. No one reaches for it. She reaches for the phone now. I set it gently by her water, screen still on the pin. She presses the pop socket in, screen goes dark. She says we can talk offline? I say there's nothing messy to clean up. The two friends shift in their chairs. One asks if the ride is called. I open the app. The map blooms on her screen, home saved at the top. I request the car and set it down again. Her knee bounces once under the table, then stops. Nate looks at her. He says you said committee? She says it overlaps. She smiles too quickly at the table. No one smiles back. The pop socket catches the pendant light, a small flash that feels like a tell. I keep my tone level. Next time, just say Tuesday is not ours. She says you're making this bigger. I say I'm not making anything. The server sets the reader near my hand. I push it to the middle. Split it how you want. Marco's name drifts from the bar, someone greeting him in another group. She doesn't turn. The two friends stand first and say we'll sort our part, then they look at Nate. He nods once and stays seated with me. Her phone pings on the wood, a muted thud through whatever settings she likes lately. The screen stays off. Digital distance, all buttons and pins. The car shows 5 minutes out. I tell Nate I'm heading home. He asks if everything's fine. I say I'm set. She says we'll talk. I say that's not required. I stand, pull on my jacket, and let the chair scrape just enough. No rush. No last look. I tell Nate I'll be at the market at 9. Then I leave the table to catch my ride. The market opens at 9. I'm there when the first crates hit the tables. Nate waits by the coffee stand, hands in his jacket, eyes on the ground like he's counting bricks. He says he didn't know. I tell him you didn't. The barista asks if we want the usual. I say 2 drip, no room. Nate nods at that like it explains more than it does. People from last night start filtering in. Maya waves from a flower stall and doesn't cross. 2 of her friends edge over, the same ones who nodded along at dinner. They look past me first, like they're watching for a cue, then pick a side. We're out of the loop, one says, eyes on the berries. We didn't know about the pin, the other adds softer. I hand Nate his coffee and let the pause sit. I tell them you know now. They glance at each other, nod once, and drift toward Maya, not her. That line redraws itself without a word. She arrives a minute later, fast steps that slow when she sees where everyone landed. The rose gold pop socket flashes in her hand like a habit she can't turn off. She stops close enough to talk but not to touch. She says we can talk. I say I'm good. No one fills the space for her. Maya adjusts a bucket of tulips and looks at me instead. A vendor calls next and I step forward, point at the apples, and hold up 2 fingers. Cash or card, he asks. Cash, I say, and set bills down like I've got nothing else to do but this. Her phone buzzes, loud this time. No, mute. Another contradiction. The pop socket turns under her thumb while she waits for me to meet her eyes. I don't. Nate clears his throat. He tells her I didn't know either. She says it was just planning. I say you labeled it planning only? She doesn't answer that. Someone behind her says is that the committee, and she says kind of, then corrects herself. Ladies' night. The correction lands harder than she means. A couple of ears tilt in our direction and then back to their produce. My phone lights. Our chat shows the first long paragraph she's sent in weeks. Read receipts back on. She types again, stops, types again. I let it sit under the glass. Then I lock the screen and hand Nate his bag. We move down the row. She tracks us along the outside like she's in a different lane. She says we can fix this if you stop assuming. I say keep Tuesday however you want. My tone makes the line flat enough to stand on its own. She tries to recover with I didn't mean to exclude you. It was logistics. Maya looks down at her shoes. The 2 friends excuse themselves and head toward the eggs, then out of earshot. Power slides and stays where it stopped last night. At the greens stall, the vendor asks if I want the usual mix. I point at the darker pile and say that one. Nate asks if I'm still hosting Friday. I say 8, open door, no stories. He nods, just once. Her phone is up again. The pop socket clicks against her palm like she's keeping time. A new message hits me, calendar updated, shared board back, thanks. Another, can we meet later, just us. I keep walking. She steps closer than usual and waits for contact I don't give. I tell her I'm taking care of the house and the list. She says, do you want me to come? I say do what you need. Maya circles back with a bunch of mint for Nate and sips it into his bag. She murmurs I'll see you Friday, then looks at me to make sure I heard her and not anyone else. I did. We pass the flower stall again. She reaches toward a stem and then pulls her hand back. The rose gold pop socket scrapes against the table edge. She says I'll text details. I say you already are. The vendor says careful there, and she thanks him without looking up. By the time I hit the last row, my phone jumps twice more. First, a group thread I didn't ask for adds me back and clears the pin. Second, a calendar alert reappears for Friday with my name at the top. Digital distance flips itself around when it needs an audience. Nate says you want help carrying? I say I've got it. He says call if you need me. I tell him he'll see where to be. She stands at the end of the aisle and watches me pass. Her friends don't wait for her. The pop socket catches the sun as she turns away, alone in a lane made for 2. My phone hums with another long line I won't open yet. I tuck the bags under one arm and take the stairs up to the street. The day has room. I leave it that way and keep moving.